Hey there folks, welcome to the Photo Video Show where we explore all things DSLR. I'm your host, Mark Puckett. On today's program, we're going to be continuing that trick photography series that we've been doing for the last few weeks, and we're going to do yet another long exposure tutorial. And I figure so, you know, it's 4th of July time, it's Independence Day, so let's do some fireworks. How many times has this happened to you? You're out, you're trying to take firework pictures, and it comes out looking like this. Or this. And you really want it to look like this. Or this. Well, that's because more than likely you didn't know the proper steps to follow, and that's okay. Firework photography can be extremely difficult if you don't know what exactly you're supposed to be doing, what settings your camera ought to be on, and if you don't have the right equipment, sometimes it will make it damn near impossible to get the kind of shots that you're wanting to get. But all you have to do is follow a few simple steps. So the first thing you want to keep in mind when you're doing these types of photographs is you want to keep your shot as stable as possible. When you're doing long exposures, especially in the dark, it is extremely important that you keep your camera on a tripod. It will help stabilize those shots and make sure that you don't introduce any unnecessary blur in any of your photographs. Second thing you want to keep in mind is that if you have a shutter release cable or a remote control, you want to use these things, because even the slightest little bit of motion that you introduce by pressing your release button is going to cause some camera shake and ultimately introduce blur into your shot. Of course, we don't want that for the most part, so make sure that if you don't have one, scoop one up. You can find them on Amazon and eBay for under 20 bucks all day long. Third thing to keep in mind here is that you also want to keep your aperture in a range of about f8 to f16, somewhere in that ballpark. That will close the iris down enough so that all the ambient lights do not start to creep into your photograph. I usually start off with about an f11 for stuff that's about 10 to 15 feet in front of me. It usually happens to work out pretty well, even at 30 seconds shutter speed. So if you want to bump it down a little bit to say like an f8, you can do that for maybe fireworks that are a little bit further off. And if you really just want to focus on the brightest parts of the firework, you can also step it up just a little bit in case it may be too bright. Here's a great idea for you as well. If you want to, use the best lens that you have, the one that will help you produce the most sharp images that you can possibly produce. Usually I'll use a prime lens, maybe a 50mm, maybe a 85mm, something like that. Because they're prime lenses, I tend to get much sharper detail. And with fireworks, for some reason, you know, the sharp sparks and things that are going off all the time, you want those to be pretty damn sharp. You want to be able to see every little detail, and those prime lenses really help you out in accomplishing a very, very sharp detail in your photographs. Last but not least, don't forget that these are fireworks and they do catch things on fire all the time. People get their fingers and toes blown off all the time, and considering the drought that we've been having right here in middle America, you could easily catch something on fire. So please be careful out there if you do try and do any of this stuff over the next few days. So here's the thing, you can hear a lot of the fireworks going off, and as they would normally be bursting up in the air, you would want that longer exposure time because it's just a one kind of firework. I'm going to be using a longer type of firework. It'll probably go for about 15 seconds. So I'm just going to try and get maybe 3 or 4 shots during the time that I'm going to be lighting the firework off. So what I've done is I've changed my settings to a 1 second exposure at about an f2.8. And I'm going to keep my ISO at 100. So let's go ahead and check this out and see how well it actually does. Let's do this. So there you have it, folks. I hope all this information comes in useful and handy. So please come be our friends and our pals over at Facebook, Twitter, and our latest, greatest social networking website, via.me. You can check us out there. We've been hanging out over there quite a bit because we only have to post our stuff one time, and it goes to our Twitter and our Facebook anyway. So it's been good so far. Hope you guys will join us next time where we do something so amazing that you'll explode your camera. And I'm sorry about that.